So on Unpacking today, this morning, we want to explore what it means to honor women as heroes, as heroine in shaping Namibia's history and the future. So joining us on Unpacking today is the PDM Member of Parliament, Honorable Inna Hengari. Inna, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, and good morning to your audience. Happy Heroes Day. Well, I'm doing very fine, and I hope everyone is fine as well on this very incredible Heroes Day.
It's a very incredible day, definitely. So, now, when you hear the term national hero, for example, national heroes in Namibia, what kind of a person usually comes to your mind first?
I think the classic or the class definition of heroes, of course, has been for a very long time based on historical events, and for a country that has meant the liberation struggle, the struggle for independence.
Yeah.
And those are individuals that would have been involved at that level in terms of fighting for various freedoms for each and every Namibian citizen. In fact, those that were even involved, I must say, those that were also involved in setting up this democratic system. And by that I mean those who were founders of our constitution, who were involved in that very important exercise of coming up with a document that would protect, not only protect, but also accord each and every Namibian citizen fundamental rights, and really outlining what the new Namibia would look like. I think that would be your classroom definition of a hero. But I think in today, I think each and every one of us are heroes, those who wake up every day to contribute to the GDP of our country in one way or the other. Those of us who wake up and go to school with a duty to teach our young ones in classrooms, not just on the histories of this country, but really to give them skills and knowledge on where we want to be, so that one day they are also able to actively contribute in building this Namibia that we all envision for ourselves. So I think in that sense, really, I think all of us who work hard, who wake up every day with the little that we have, and are actively contributing to building this Namibia, to building this country that we call our motherland, I think all of us in that sense are really heroes.
Yeah. So when you're looking at our history book and monument, it doesn't really depict much of women. So why do you think the stories of women in our history are so often left in the shadow?
Well, I think it stems from this patriarchal society. Namibia has always been a very patriarchal society. And colonialism, and I guess, and I think, in fact, not guess, but I think that it is almost an inheritance from the colonial past, where women were subjected merely to kitchen duties, and were not seen as people who could be at the forefront, making decisions, being at the decision-making table, forming policy, forming decisions with their counterparts. So I think it's an inherited system. Yeah. And I do think that we still have a long way to go in recognizing, because I truly believe that for one to be a hero, you don't need to be dead to qualify to be a hero.
Yeah.
I think just by your contributions to this nation building, and to building a country that really works for everybody, I think one ought to be considered and acknowledged or even recognized as a hero. I look at individuals like Libertina Madila, who is still very much alive, and I think we rarely speak about her contributions to nation building in this country. So one of the things that I always say is that when I came to Parliament, she was one of the role models, people I used to look up to, or somebody that I used to look up to, because of the work that she had done. I didn't need to know her personally. All I needed to know was that she was sold on this idea of a Namibian house, of a Namibian country that works for everybody, whether you are part of the dejected masses of our people, you are unemployed, you are from a marginalized community.
Yeah.
I think I really drew, and I continue to draw a lot of inspiration from her.
Yeah. So, and that's actually a question I wanted to ask is there a female hero from Namibian history or even alive, perhaps, who is who might not be even famous, who has personally inspired you. So, but you mentioned Mrs. Amadira. Is there anybody else that you think for you who have actually inspired you?
Yeah, absolutely. My late mother, she passed on in 2019, but by profession she was an early childhood development teacher.
Yeah.
And I always say that it's the little efforts, or the efforts that seem so little, that build communities. And her actually serving this country in that capacity, teaching us. I always say I consider myself quite privileged because I didn't need to go to a kindergarten. In my village already there was that system, of course with the support of government, where you could have ECD teachers and young people in a village setup could actually be taught under a tree and receive the requisite education that would be needed for you to advance to the next grade, which was grade 1. So yes, my mother, my grandmother, really, I think the matriarchs of my family have been a huge inspiration for me, and have not only inspired me to stand up for others, but also to continue to be genuine and relentless in the fight for a better Namibia, but also a better unified Namibia.
Yeah. Can you name a Namibian woman hero you wish more people maybe knew about her, and why her story matters?
Sure. I think that's a huge ask. I think my biggest, I have to be cautious here. I have to exercise a lot of caution, because the whole idea and the reason why we already have this issue of women not being spoken about enough, women not being acknowledged enough, is because usually we have most of the time we are tempted to just reduce the work of women to a single individual.
Yeah.
I think various women, and it would be an injustice for me to just name one or two people.
Oh, yeah.
But there are many of them who continue to build institutions, who are ethical, who are women who lead with integrity. But really, there are so many, and I think it would be a huge injustice to just name one. And I think it will also contribute to diluting the history of women and also the work that they do in really advancing the development of our country.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier on that history books and our national monument don't include much of women. So how can we start actually fixing the history books and our national monument to include these forgotten women?
Well, I think, in fact, I actually wanted to say that it's not just women.
Yeah.
There are also men who are hardly spoken about, whose contributions have been sidelined, whose contributions to nation building, whose contributions to the struggle for independence. And I think the first step that we ought to take as a country, we are serious about nation building and we are serious about acknowledging and recognizing these individuals. I think the first step would be to reconcile this country. I see that our history is almost taught from one side, and I think it's very important that we are able to reconcile and really tell our history, because it's very rare for us to hear the stories of those, for example, who were from Katima Mulilo, those who were from the Kavango East and Kavango regions, who also were key role players in the struggle for independence and continue to do so. Some of them today still alive. And I think if we are to get that right, the first step that we ought to do is to reconcile our people, so that the isms don't get to really divide our country, your tribalisms, all those things.
Yeah.
But rather by doing so and by reconciling our country and by telling the stories of different heroes, of different role players, those individuals who stood who stood on the side of our people, when it was not fashionable to do so, we can really start contributing and writing stories and telling stories in our languages, in our various languages and dialects, to all our people, even to have them taught, to have this history taught in school. One day I had a conversation with a friend, and I kept on saying that it's so interesting that we know so much about our colonizers.
Yeah.
We know about the
it's because they have written books. Yeah.
Exactly. We know about the von Trotters. We know about the Bismarck, but we hardly know about our own heroes. We are hardly taught about our own heroes. So I think it's an injustice, and I think we are denying our younger generation the opportunity to learn about where we are coming from.
Yeah.
And by doing so, really getting them to know where we are going or where we want to be as a country.
Yeah.
And it starts with writing books. You're right. It starts with writing books. It starts with telling our stories in our various dialects,
exactly.
in our various languages. So really, it's an important aspect, that of keeping records of events that took place, but also telling stories in their entirety and not just one part.
Yeah, yeah. Because in 100 years from now, that generation might not even know anything about the struggle of independence of this country. So it's as you're saying, it's very important to do that, to keep record. Yeah. So
I think it also gives.
Go ahead.
It also gives young people. Yeah, it also gives young people, when you know where you're coming from and you know your history and you know your roots.
Yeah.
It gives you a sense of ownership and it gives you a sense of belonging because you know that these people fought for this right. So I can't be bullied. I can't be told by a former colonizer or somebody who played a pivotal role in colonizing my country. I can't be bullied by that person because I know what my forefathers fought for, and these are the rights that I'm now accorded by our constitution.
Even for learning lesson, you wouldn't know actually what to learn if you don't have if you don't have a record of that. So
Absolutely.
Things that you don't have to repeat again because it was done in the past. So because you don't have a record of that, it's very important that we really do that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah. So there's something that you mentioned earlier on, the role of women in the home, and is often seen as just a private duty. So how can we start looking at it as a form of nation buildings? Because these are also heroes, because they keep the fabric of our community and society.
Well, generally, women are the backbone of society. They are the caretakers, but they are the nurturers, more importantly, of leaders. They are the nurturers of presidents, prime ministers, and so it's an incredible role. And for me, I think those stories ought to be taught. I don't think, and we have normalized this thing where we just say because the person is a mother, of course it was their job to do that. But I think it's such an incredible duty and responsibility that women take on, especially because they don't just give birth; they also have to nurture. They have to take care.
Yeah.
It's almost like when you mine and you mine with diamonds, it has to go through the rough, you know.
Yeah.
And until it becomes something that you are able to something that is of great value. And that is exactly how I see the role of women in the Namibian or post-independent Namibia. They are the backbone of Namibian society. They are the ones who guide our moral compasses. In fact, they are the ones, if anything, before guiding and guarding our moral compass, they are the ones who actually make a determination in terms of what morally is right and wrong.
Yeah.
So really, I think they play an incredible role because I always say that who you become as an adult is always a reflection of how you were raised at home. So, like if you become a leader, for example, with very little ethics and very little integrity, I think it's always a reflection of what happened at home.
Exactly.
And then, of course, at a later stage, who influences you and who influences your decision. So sometimes you may have been brought up very well, but then you become part of a circle that is not the most ethical or those with integrity or great integrity, and that is why we end up with all this, all the rots in this country.
Yeah.
I think women should continue and should be also acknowledged and recognized, also celebrated for their role, that they play in raising leaders, raising prime ministers, raising presidents, and even after that, even becoming wives to presidents, becoming first ladies to presidents, becoming speakers of parliament and so forth. So they play an incredible role.
Yeah. Talking about playing an important role is that we also have women in business, especially those in the informal market. So how are they heroes in our economy?
Yeah. I think it's a conversation that is currently happening at Parliament. It's interesting that you asked me this question. But one of the things that we have said we want to be intentional about is that we want gender empowerment and women empowerment to cascade down to our mothers who are vendors, to our mothers who are domestic workers, all those individuals, all those female leaders who in some way contribute to the GDP of our country. And that's one of the things that we've picked up. We picked up a pattern where it's almost as if the gender empowerment and women empowerment initiative has only is only being practiced or sort of exercised in boardrooms, in hotels. Why not organize a women empowerment seminar in Kapitsura, for example, with female vendors?
Yeah.
Why not organize a women empowerment initiative where you bring female domestic workers and bring them together to remind them of their rights, but also not just remind them of their rights, but also give them that recognition and acknowledgement for their contribution really to the growth of our country.
So, you as a woman in Parliament, what are some of the biggest challenges or hurdles you see for women in leadership today?
Well, this space, they say it's a man's world. And I think one of the biggest lessons, I think our entrance in Parliament was, we were baptized through fire. Of course, it was during COVID. But also, it's already difficult as it is to be a female politician.
Yeah.
But it's even more difficult when you're a young female politician in this space. But one of the biggest things or biggest inspirations that kept us going has always been the senior female politicians who we could still rely on and go to for guidance and for advice. And this, of course, beyond political party affiliation. I'm talking about the likes of Honorable Elma Dinda, who's a former member of Parliament, but a seasoned politician. I'm also talking about various women. I'm talking about former Honorable Julieta Kavetuna, who's also a former member of Parliament, a seasoned politician. So there are various individuals that we could rely on day to day as young politicians, young female politicians in the space. But of course, we didn't do that on our own. We did that with the support of women who were already in the space and who have experienced similar challenges, but have been seasoned enough to know how to assist us and really give us and empower us with new strategies on how to navigate the space.
Yeah. Is it enough just to have women, more women, like to have more women in position of power, or does the system itself need to change?
Well, I don't think we have a lot of women in Parliament or in politics generally. I think if you want to have a clear picture of women empowerment and whether that has cascaded down to the grassroots level, I think a perfect picture or a perfect case study would be to look at the number of female representatives in the National Council who are individuals who are directly elected at a constituency level. And then one would actually come to a determination and you would actually conclude that this women empowerment thing has not cascaded down to grassroots level.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. In fact, if anything, party-led system has helped a lot in terms of bringing women to Parliament. But I don't think that when it comes to the direct election, you look at the National Council where an individual has to stand in a constituency, for example, more women are actually elected. And that would always be the perfect mark. I always argue it would always be the standard. If you want to see whether this woman empowerment has actually cascaded down to grassroots level. And I really don't think that it has, because I think there are only 2 women in the National Council.
Yeah.
So that gives you a very bleak picture of how far we have come and how far we've gone in terms of women empowerment. Yes, we have the first female president. Yes, we have the first female speaker. Yes, we have the first female vice president. But are we doing enough in terms of empowering women, ordinary Namibian women, at levels where, for example, you are a domestic worker or you are a vendor. Have we empowered those individuals enough? And I think the answer is no.
Yeah. So we're quickly going to have a commercial coming up, and then we will round off. I'll give you a chance actually for us to round off a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. And quickly, when it comes now to issues like gender-based violence and economic marginalization, these affect women's ability. Do you think? How do you see this affecting women's ability to take public leadership roles that would be remembered?
I think for me, I don't think that we must only limit women to public leadership roles, and therefore then that becomes some sort of measurement of how or of whether we have empowered women. I think women should be able to lead in the private sector, for example. I think, having a woman, a female CEO of a bank would be an amazing achievement, a milestone. I think having just women lead from where they are, having women who are chiefs in their communities, in their communal communities, for example, women who, I almost said headmen, women who are head women in their rural setups. I think those are the milestones, I think, that I really want to see.
Yeah.
Because this idea that we can only measure women empowerment by having women in public office, I think it results in a hijacking of what the intention of women empowerment is. It's not to say that we want to see every single woman in the public space or leading in the public sector. We want to see women lead where they are. So say, for instance, we want to see female union leaders.
Yeah.
We want to see the workers' union being led by women. We want to see the nurses' union or the teachers' union being led by women. Then only can we really know or have a feel that women are really coming up and they're stepping up where they are leading. So I don't think that should only be measured by the women. Professor Mpanda calls it perfumed women, a hijacking of by perfumed women. But I really want to see women lead where they are, from where they are.
Yeah.
Being a domestic worker and being so informed about your rights, being so informed about what is owed to you, being so informed about what is accorded to you through the Constitution and really the relevant laws of our country. Those are in that position you will be able to lead because you know what your rights are, what your obligations are, but more importantly, what you are accorded to the Constitution.
Yeah. So maybe also the putting it more light to everyone that's listening now. For an average person listening, what is one simple thing they can do? Let's say, for example, this week, to honor a woman hero in their life.
Say again, can you repeat that?
I'm saying for anyone listening now, what is one simple thing they can do? Let's say because we're remembering our hero today. I mean, it's a Heroes Day. Maybe during this whole week, what can they do to honor a woman hero in their life?
I think one meaningful way to honor a hero is to share their stories with others and celebrate them with others. Whether this is through storytelling or through writing or just public recognition.
Yeah.
Because this would allow them to not just inspire and amplify their impact, but also it would be an example for the rest of those that are continuously also contributing but or feel unseen. Those who are continuously also fighting in their own spaces but feel unseen. So if there's one thing that you can do to celebrate a hero, is to tell stories. Please share their stories with us and their contributions with us. Write a book and invite us to the launch because we want those copies. We want to also be able to tell those stories to our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren so that this history is not wiped away and so that their contributions don't die with us and don't die with our generation.
Yeah. Now, as we come to this to the end of this conversation, what is the single biggest misconception about women's role in shaping Namibia that you want to clear up?
Sure.
You alluded to it already earlier.
Yeah. I think the biggest misconception is that that women did not contribute to the liberation struggle, and that they were only in the kitchen or in the kraal milking cows.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest misconception. I know of women, even from my own area where I come from, who contributed actively, who led protests, who led demonstrations. And I'm not just thinking about the Takurukas and Mungundas of our lifetime, but I'm thinking about so many others, ordinary in their own ways, but so powerful and so impactful in the contributions that they made to the struggle for independence.
Yeah. All right. Now, and if you could send one message now to a young Namibian girl or a young Namibian boy on today's on Heroes Day, so what would it be? What would be that message?
I think on Heroes Day we must be reminded of the intention. Why, in the first place, those who were involved in the liberation struggle fought for the independence of our country. That's number one. And I think based on that foundation, if we're able to locate the historical reasons and the intent for the struggle for independence, I think all of us will be encouraged and inspired to lead and live honest lives. We didn't, I'm sure our forefathers and our foremothers did not fight for the independence of our country so that we can loot. They did not fight for this country so that we can become thieves. They wanted a country where we can have a sense of self-determination, but more importantly, have rights that could enable us to build this country. So we were able to locate why people stood up, why they felt it was important to wage war for independence. Then I think we will be better placed to understand our role in post-independent Namibia. And our role in post-independent Namibia is really to lead and live honest lives. And yes, there is success without stealing. Yes, there is success without looting, regardless of the stories, the headlines that are making news these days. I don't think that we must be discouraged. We must actually be encouraged to actually lead and live honest lives and honestly, so that we can also inspire the next generation to be a generation that is rooted in honesty, that is rooted in solidarity, that is rooted in unity, and really that is determined to build a united Namibia.
Honorable Inna, thank you for sharing your insight and passion with us on Heroes Day. So your voice is a reminder that honoring Namibia's women heroes is not just about looking back, it's about inspiring the future. And we are grateful for your time and perspective as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you to your audience and happy Heroes Day.
All right, thank you.